Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Made to Pray podcast. You're joining us on a brand new episode of Tunes That Change the Scene. Now, that may come as a wee bit of surprise to you, and the fact that we said that we were going to do something else. However, there is a wee bit of a reason behind that. So we were supposed to have a guest on for this particular episode. Unfortunately, circumstances meant that they were unable to attend and record with us. So we then tried to get a couple of guests that we had planned for future episodes to turn up for that. But again, it was just too short notice for them to be able to turn up. So we thought, rather than disappoint, we'd record another episode of Tunes That Change the Scene. So on tonight's episode, we are going to feature another band from Scotland, funnily enough, and it's Glam Mavis, Sons of William. Now, this tape was released in 1986, and the artwork on the screen there will probably give you some nostalgia, a bit like the other two did as well. And what a tape this was. Obviously, I remember this coming out, and I'll talk a wee bit more about that in a minute. But the track listing on this tape was absolutely amazing. You probably see that on your screen now. What an absolute brilliant collection of tunes. And some of these on here are absolute, band scene classics. All right, so you have, the likes of, the opener here, One Faith. You also have O Carl, and you also have the drum solo, the original drum salute, and the actual tune that we're going to talk about tonight, which is Black Velvet. Now, there are, as I say, a couple of tunes on this album that I could have picked up. We probably will. As we go through this series, we'll definitely come back to this one. But Black Velvet is the tune that we're going to focus in on. And how I'm going to do this tonight, you'll know that the previous episodes, we've listened to the tune the whole way through, and then I've given you some kind of thoughts and stuff on that afterwards. Just going to change that up tonight. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to listen to parts of it and then talk to you about those different parts, because there's reasons behind why this tune change the scene, and I want to kind of get into that. And then what we'll do after we've done that, we'll play the whole tune from the start to the finish, and then we'll have some closing thoughts as we go out. So just bear with us as we go through this. All right, so we're going to kick in with the tune. Alrighty, folks, so the first thing is the drum intro. All right. I don't think I'd ever heard a band introduce a tune like this, with those particles. You can hear that this has come post the second Black Skull album, because the second Black Skull album actually introduced the whole idea of particles into drum settings. And here we have Glam Mavis kicking off this particular tune with a particle focused drum setting that actually becomes the drum setting for the whole of the tune. So for me, I just want to point that out at the very beginning, that this is one of the reasons why this stands out, because this was different and nobody was doing anything like it. So let's listen in to the next part of the tune here. All right, so there you go. What an absolute classic tune there. And, that when those flutes come in and then that drum intro kind of continues on, for me, I just was like, whenever I heard this for the first time, I was like going, my goodness, what the heck is going on here? Because it was just such a refreshing kind of break from the type of drum settings that you were having in the tunes. And it's just that offbeat kind of feel to it with the flow of the flutes. It just had something about it that made you go, my goodness, somebody's really sat down and thought long and hard about what they wanted to do with this tune. And it complements each other so well in regards to that. It's just a really, really nice touch. So let's continue on with the next part. All right, so there you go. A couple of things just to pick out in regards to that. I love the way there's a contrast between that first section with the paradiddles and the flutes, and then when it moves into that second section, it's almost got that mummy daddy feel to it, but it also is a 4/4 feel too. So it almost has this idea of like a drum kit type of setting to it. You know, you can almost hear that in the background. And again, that was very, very different in terms of a drum set. You have it almost has something tribal about it as well. That kind of thing really, really stood out for me. And then when it gets to that build up at the end, you have that crescendo coming, and then that cymbal crash at the end. There's obviously somebody potentially with, you know, beaters on a cymbal and stuff in terms of making that happen. Absolutely brilliant way to then bring you back in to the repeat of the first phrase of the tune. And then the other bit is the way this ends. I absolutely love the way this ends. So you have this, which is all single line melody, right up until the very end, where they then bring parts in at the outro. It's just brilliant. And then that we ended up at the end is just something else, you know, that really makes that tune stand out. I have to say, whoever was the person behind that, absolutely come up with an absolutely brilliant, a cracking arrangement of this tune. And then as a result of that, you know, this, you know, tape had a bit of a slow start. All right, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but what an absolutely brilliant tune there, an absolutely brilliant arrangement. And one of the reasons why I think that it's a tune that changed the scene is for the reasons I've given you: the drum settings, the flute, the different style in regards to that. And then once this tape got some level of notoriety, as people found out about it, then there was that explosion and people started playing the tunes that the like Black Velvet. They started playing that. They started playing the drum salute. They started playing One Faith and Oh Carl and stuff. And I think there's even some bands are still playing Oh Carl even today. Do you know what I mean? Now, unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure whether there's many bands playing Black Velvet. I know they're definitely not playing it like this anyway. But if your band's out there, you are playing this Black Velvet tune, let us know. It'd be great to hear if there's bands still doing that, because one of the things that we've said in previous episodes is the fact that a tune is still being played. But for me, one of the things that definitely changed the scene was the amount of bands that actually picked this up. I mean, I remember hearing the Rising Suns in East Belfast walking down the avenue playing this. I'm like kind of going, there you go, there's an influence. It just seemed to explode everywhere. And then with the drum solo, yeah, the original drum salute. For me, this is probably one of the first times you would have heard this on a tape, you know, a drum salute being done. And then all of a sudden, you've got bands doing drum solos at indoor competitions. And then you have the sharpshooters that were doing precision and percussion on their second tape. You know what I mean? So they actually started something in regards to bands picking up on what they were doing and taking that influence and applying it to themselves, and then coming up with their own stuff for the future as well. So absolutely fantastic tune, fantastic tape. If you don't have it, then, you know, definitely get your hands on it. Now, one of the things I do want to say about this is that the sound quality here obviously isn't great. Now, so we're talking, you know, a tape from 1986 that's been digitized. So you've got, you know, nearly 40 years worth of, you know, playing on this here, and the fact that, you know, tapes just don't hold the quality in regards to the like CDs would, or maybe even a well looked after LP. But we did our best with this in terms of getting the tune out there. I'd be interested if someone has a cleaner copy of that there, or even if the band's out there. It'd be amazing if somebody had original recordings of this and they were able to get a revamped version of that had cleaner, you know, sound on it. But I remember when I heard this for the first time, I was like, oh my word, listen to that, listen to those drums, listen to the rolls, listen to the sweetness of the flutes there, and these arrangements are just something else, you know. So that continues the whole way through the tape there. So an absolutely classic from Glam Mavis, Sons of William. Alrighty, folks, so hopefully you'll agree with me there that is one of those tunes that changed the scene for us. And, you know, I was just reflecting back there in terms of how I got a hold of this at first. And it's probably how I got a hold of a number of tapes way back in the beginning, and it was from friends in school. And I was kind of, when I say blessed, I don't know whether that's the right word to use or not, but I was blessed that there was a number of guys in my class at Orangefield who were all members of flute bands. So I had Paul Ferguson. Paul Ferguson. Paul Ferguson actually went on to join the army, but Paul was in Prayer Down, and he was a good mate of mine, and he was actually who I got a copy of the first Black Skull album from. To this day, I think he would still say that I snaffled it off him and I took the copy off him and didn't give him it back. But less said about that, the better. And then the other person in my class will be well known to most people was Junior Walker from what was then the Ulster Volunteer Flute Band. And Junior had came to me one day and he handed me this tape and he says, Glenn, there's a tape for you to listen to. Don't share it out too widely because we're going to be learning some of the stuff of this. And I was like, I don't even think he would tell me the name of the band. And he just said, have a listen to this and see what you think. And I remember taking it home and listening to it. And as I said, One Faith come on. I was like, oh my word, what is this? Especially with the parts and all coming in there. I was like, this is absolutely brilliant. And as I listened the whole way through it, I started to pick out, wow, there's some great stuff on here. And obviously, one of the tunes that stood out for me there was Black Velvet as well. So, you know what I mean? So even back then, as I say, bands were beginning to pick this up. And it's whenever it came into that wider public knowledge, the people started to take some of these tunes and really put some of those influences into practice as well. For me, one of the things that it did for me was it made me go looking for the tape itself rather than have a copy, because I think Junior gave me a song like a TDK, which is something I think Paul did with the Black Skull tape as well. For me, I wanted to go out and support the bands and actually buy a copy of the tape. I thought it was maybe like cheating, taking somebody's tape, copying it, and then putting it on the old TDK without giving anybody any money for it. Probably still feel like that today, in terms of, I suppose music's kind of different now, I still feel like that with CDs and stuff, I'd rather have had the original rather than copied of it, because I definitely think if bands are going to put their time and their effort into creating something, and, it'd be useful to maybe give them some of the support back in regards to what they're creating. So it did end up with an original copy of that tape. Now, God knows where that is now, because like anything, as you go through the years, these things all disappear. And the copy that I got of this is from Eddie Torney. Eddie Torney is a flute player with the Ballyhalbert band, and he has been doing a great job in terms of digitizing a lot of the old tapes and stuff. So big thank you to Eddie for forwarding me a copy of the tape so that I could get it on the digitized here and get it so we could actually use it on the episode here tonight. So there you go. Alrighty, folks, so that's the end of another episode of Tunes That Change the Scene. I hope you enjoyed that. This third installment with Glam Mavis, Sons of William, and their tune Black Velvet. Okay, so coming up, we are heading to the Pitch Perfect event that is taking place at Seaview this Saturday coming. We are going to be doing some interviews with the organisers. Looks like it's going to be a great event. We're also hoping to have some interviews with the bands that are taking part. I think it's around about 10 to 12 bands that are taking part, plus a whole host of Ulster Scots-based performers. So we're going to be there all day. If you're at the event, why don't you come and say hello to us? I think we'll be indoors, the second floor of the Cruise Club. We'll have a wee section set aside there. Come and say hello to Brian and myself. Be happy to see you. And then obviously we'll be taking some footage of the event as well and hope to put out an episode based around that. So really looking forward to that, and thanks to the organisers for inviting us along to that. And then we're also going to be heading to the Saw Museum in Conlig. Really looking forward to this one, and getting a bit of a tour around there, and then meet with one of the curators in terms of finding out some of the reasons why the museum exists, but also to connect them with some of those stories that connect, Northern Ireland to the Somme, and obviously the history that's connected there with the 36th Ulster Division. So really looking forward to bringing that one to you as well. So we're going to end the episode there. So look after yourselves, take it easy, and here to play us out isn't our normal theme tune, but it's Glam Mavis, Sons of William with Black Velvet.